A famous novelist walked into OpenAI and told the people building the future they were killing writing itself. Sam Altman invited him personally. Roughly 200 staffers sat down expecting praise, maybe a little flattery about the tools they'd built. What Dave Eggers said instead landed like a slap. And the reason he was even in that room tells you something uncomfortable about who these companies think they're listening to. Here's why this matters right now. The people writing your emails, your essays, your kids' homework help, your marketing copy, they're increasingly not people at all. They're prediction engines trained on decades of human writing. And OpenAI knows the criticism is coming, so it did something clever. It invited the critics inside. Sam Altman brought in a Pulitzer finalist, the founder of McSweeney's, a man who's built schools for young writers. This is the pattern interrupt nobody flags. What comes next is the part that actually matters. So picture the scene. Eggers isn't some random skeptic. He spent his life on the craft of putting words together, and just as importantly, on teaching kids to do it. His nonprofit 826 Valencia exists to get young people writing. That's his whole thing. According to The Verge, he stood in front of the OpenAI staff and said ChatGPT was silencing an entire generation, not helping them, silencing them. Here's what that means for you if you've ever handed a first draft to a chatbot. The muscle you use to struggle with a blank page, to find your own voice in the mess, that muscle atrophies when a machine hands you a polished paragraph every time. If this is landing for you, hit like. It really moves the needle. Eggers' argument isn't about plagiarism or copyright, it's about development. A generation that never learns to wrestle with language never learns to think in it. And that's a quieter loss than any lawsuit. This next part changes the whole picture. Now ask the obvious question. Why would Sam Altman invite a man to tell his own employees they're damaging children? That's not an accident. That's strategy. OpenAI benefits enormously from looking like a company that agonizes over the harm it might cause. Bring in the respected artist, let him scold you, film the reflection, and you've bought yourself moral cover. The villain here isn't Eggers, and it isn't even the engineers in that room, most of whom probably meant well. The setup itself is the thing to watch. The person caught in the middle is the student who reaches for ChatGPT because their overworked teacher can't give them real feedback, and the machine is free, instant, and never tired. Think about what that means for you personally, or for anyone you know still in school. The tool that promises to help you write is quietly deciding what your writing sounds like. Flattened, averaged, confident, and hollow. Eggers saw that from the stage. The last piece is the one that reframes everything. Because here's the twist. Eggers didn't leave feeling like he'd won. He left believing the audience mostly disagreed with him, politely, warmly, and completely. That's the surprising part. He wasn't shouted down, he was absorbed. The staffers listened, nodded, and went right back to building. That's far more dangerous than hostility. When your sharpest critic walks away, convinced nobody in the room actually changed their mind, the criticism has been neutralized without a single concession. Here's exactly what happens next. Expect more of these invitations. More artists, more ethicists, more famous names paraded through AI offices to deliver stern warnings that get clipped, praised, and ignored. It's not censorship, it's the opposite. It's the confidence of an industry that knows dissent is harmless once it's been welcomed inside. That's the real story here. Before I go, here is your tech tip of the day. If you use ChatGPT and worry about it flattening your voice, stop asking it to write and start asking it to interrogate. Instead of write this essay, try, Ask me 5 hard questions that would make this argument stronger, then stay silent. This forces the model into a Socratic role, so the thinking stays yours and only the prompting is outsourced. You can push further by adding "challenge my weakest claim" at the end of any draft you paste in. The output becomes a sparring partner, not a ghostwriter, which is exactly the muscle Eggers was afraid you'd lose. That is your tip for today. If Eggers walking into that room and losing the argument says anything, it's that being heard and being ignored now look identical. Tell me in the comments. Is AI sharpening your writing or replacing it? Subscribe to FutureEdge and I'll see you tomorrow with the next one.